I think I know what's next. I think I know what's next on the fuck-ass agenda.
Hi everyone. Pushing through the pain here. The internet's busy.
Why did he censor? He censored the. Why did he censor the album cover? What's wrong with the album cover?
Music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Armand Hammer and the Alchemist project, Haram. This is a brand new LP from one of abstract hip-hop's most exciting duos in the underground at the moment. That's Armand Hammer teaming up with legendary producer, the Alchemist, for an entire project of beats.
Shout out J Dilla Donuts in the background.
Who is Armand Hammer? They are New York rappers Billy Woods and
Anthony Bandanarino. Bandanarino, you know.
Lucid, who had an incredible run together through the 2010s, dropping some of my favorite hip-hop records of that decade, race music, as well as
classic,
effectively produced Paraffin.
Classic.
But over this course of time, I also have loved seeing the duo grow in terms of profile, becoming a truly beloved duo with a strong cult following. And I think it certainly says something that someone of the Alchemist's background and popularity is interested in working with them. I mean, the man's massive production discography spans decades and speaks for itself, and he's still dropping critically acclaimed material today, like his recent releases with Freddie Gibbs, Boldy James, even Haram here.
Man, that was such an iconic era when those albums came out. That's crazy. That's like very nostalgic for me.
Seems to be getting a very positive reception. Now, I will admit, despite listening to Armand Hammer and Billy Woods music for years, this project did throw me for a loop a little bit, in a good way, because up until this point, Armand Hammer's been nothing if not consistent in terms of their sonic and lyrical vibe, but they really seem to be leaning into their impressionistic tendencies on this one, and the Alchemist seems happy to go there with them. Case in point, the track Pepper Tree, where Billy Woods...
Yeah, see, I'm like horrible with song names, so I've got to like actually... Okay, yeah, that's like one of the most psychedelic moments on the album. Absolutely one of the most psychedelic moments on the album.
Accents his surreal, free associative spoken word bars over reversed jazz loops. It's trippy, it's bizarre, it's out there, even for Armand Hammer. There's a decent handful of sung
Fake fan.
Tracks on this record too that I didn't really see coming either. God's Feet, where both Billy and Elucid deliver forlorn vocal leads over some chilling electric piano passages. There's also the closer Stone Fruit, where Elucid...
He better not say anything bad about Stone Fruit.
Performs in this deep, bellowing rasp. Meanwhile, the instrumental reads like a woozy piece of vintage psych rock. The graveled roar of Elucid's voice on this track almost reminds me of the vocals of that dance hall artist Assassin, but in comparison, Elucid's execution is noticeably stiffer. Look, I'm not crazy about the singing on this LP, and I guess you could make the argument that Billy...
Nah, see, this is where we're gonna disagree. I really like the rawness of Elucid's vocals on this, and I know that this is like this has come out years ago at this point, like, you know, like, fuck it, but like I'm doing this because I want to fucking do it. Yeah, nah, the singing on this album is great, their delivery is great, just factually, I'm not going to use this channel to talk about my day job, but I'm a scientist and I crunch the numbers, and it just factually a wrong statement. Are you kidding me?
And Elucid aren't exactly out to prove themselves as proficient singers. I sort of see it as playing into an overall purposeful rawness of this project that you either get something out of or you don't. So even if the singing did read to me as being too awkward, maybe with the exception of Squeegee, ultimately I do think it complements this record's winding tapestry of moody beats, grim verses, subtly psychedelic effects, and motif-based song structures. Many of the tracks on this record flow into each other seamlessly as well, using some strange sound effects or vocal clips or bits of instrumental to kind of coast from one moment to the next.
So it's an Alchemist album? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
You could say this LP delivers a more holistic listen as opposed to a set of tracks that are all very clearly defined, which, again, I think is appropriate given the instrumentals and the tone of the lyrics here. It feels like I'm just moving through the snapshots of a fever dream. Check the opening track, for example. Never has Armand Hammer's vibe.
I feel like that's like really like underselling a lot of the album to say that it's snapshots of a fever dream. I mean, sure, like I understand that like maybe Woods's bars and Elucid's bars like might not be the easiest thing to uh, pull the meaning out of like on first listen or anything, but I feel like that's almost like an oversimplification, I guess, of of their style, I guess is the easiest way to put it.
Felt so potent, but also elusive, with the slow drum and kick patterns surrounded with all of these swelling reversed tones and melodies. The whole thing just creeps in like a sense of dread. With Billy Wood's opening verse, he spits bars on bars that read like old adages. Following this, Elucid flows with the precision of a samurai, as usual. The rhyme schemes are mwah, especially when he hits on a certain word or rhyme and he'll just...
Good. I'm really happy that he's like giving Elucid like his flowers, because I mean he is like he shines bright on all of his solo material and on all of the Armand Hammer albums, but I feel like this is a moment where I feel like he particularly like grew into his own and laid the groundwork for like what we would see like on Diabetic Test Strips later on. And honestly, even some of their features, you know, like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling on that.
Combo it again and again and again and again. And of course, his words can be pregnant with meaning too. Take the shorter cut Roaches Don't Fly, for example, which follows immediately after.
That might have one of my favorite Elucid lines on it.
Where I get a lot of themes of separation and partitioning off socially and culturally, maybe as a means of preservation, fortification, falling away from spaces that don't serve a sacred purge, extracted herbs, smack! My new name colonizers can't pronounce, and then of course the whole thing ends with this mantra that you don't have to be here if you don't want. Elucid sounding like a ghost that's haunting away anyone who just might not be on the wavelength of this record. The instrumental on Black Sunlight also has a very strange, almost Twilight Zone sort of quality to it. Between the skipping vocal...
Strange. I feel like that's the most direct song on the album, probably. I feel like you got, like, the Alchemist chop, you've got the nice feature from... Who is it? I don't want to get this wrong. Yeah, it has that nice feature from Kayana on it. Shout out Kayana. She opened for them when I saw them at the Middle East when they signed my record. It was really cool and everything. It was on my birthday, which was nice. And I even got to have one of my favorite foods, the shishito peppers. Shout out the shishito peppers. If I get really try hard with the channel and anybody subscribes to it, I might make a tiny shishito pepper that goes next to your name. You've heard it here first. On the Forest River Park Well Wishers Union Artist Collective and Cooperative. You might get a shishito pepper next to your name if you're really nice to me.
Full keyboard and drum loops. I feel like I'm listening to just a broken soul record on LSD. And while everything instrumentally may come off very woozy and very...
A broken soul record on LSD?
strange.
I don't know about that.
Billy Woods is just so concrete and so in your face and so clear and such an authority of a sound, brutally spinning all of these dense bits of wordplay and juxtapositions, like the smoking at church bar, or even the likening of Armand Hammer to Hagler and Hearns, shorted them like Bear Stearns. Billy just says so much with every cultural reference, whether that be a...
Bars, you do have to know your references in order to appreciate Woods, I will say.
legendary boxing match or the 2000s meltdown of Wall Street. Billy's portion of the track radiates this unconcerned energy, as he says, which Elucid, as he follows up on the back end, amplifies even louder. This is maybe the most upbeat set of bars I've ever heard from Elucid on any track ever. Meanwhile, as Billy raps at the beginning of Indian Summer, it's like he's delivering, I don't know, the origin story of some kind of villain. I swore vengeance in the 7th grade, not on one man, but the whole human race. I'm almost done, God be praised. I'm almost done, every debt gets paid. I used to cut grass and smile like I meant it. We squatted in the shade when the mowers overheated, and, you know...
Man, that's gotta be... That and Falling Out of the Sky have to be some of my favorite Woods moments on the album. That and the one where he's talking about like kind of getting healthy, like what is it, like bed early, up early and early to sleep, barely smoking weed. Like that one, that is like, yeah, those are probably the top three, I would say. The verse he's talking about, Falling Out of the Sky, and Woods gets healthy and has a panic attack when he smokes weed for the first time. Because he smells people. He smells people getting wet in the hall. Is that the line, right? Something like that. The landlady's bill go under the door. Yeah, yeah. Adam, the very first moderator, is right on the money. That shit is fucking hard.
You know what, knowing Billy Wood's lyrical pedigree and the things he's rapped about in the past, I have a feeling he's not talking about landscaping. There is a little lull around the midpoint that lasts a few tracks, in my opinion, but things do pick up pretty quickly with the blissfully psychedelic Falling Out the Sky, which begins with an Earl Sweatshirt feature. Billy and Elucid follow up through the rest of the track.
I feel like this was like the beginning of that nice turn that Earl Sweatshirt took. Not that like I've always loved his music, but like the turn he started to take right around this album, and then when like I think like Sick might have come out like kind of like right after this. Yeah, like I was really, this is where he started to make stuff I was like really in love with, honestly.
With a lot of bars in their verses that are quite poetic and reference idyllic memories. Collectively, there is a fantastically grim energy with Billy and Elucid and Amani, as well as Curly Castro on Wishing Bad. And Quelle Chris's feature on Chicharrones is absolutely a perfect fit for this record too. There is something about his flow and his nasally delivery that typically comes off very loose, and this is a very loose record, a very falling out of touch with the material world kind of LP.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a fair point. I mean, Quelle Chris, like, he's almost like mastered like the art of like sounding like, it's really hard to do, but like it almost sounds like he like doesn't care, you know what I mean? But like obviously like like he's such a good writer, and his delivery it just comes across so nonchalant that yeah, like I think it lends itself well on this album, especially yeah, obviously on this feature.
If there's any selling point to this record, it's that, and the ways in which the Alchemist's production enhances that. I will also say, for someone who's been listening to Armand Hammer for a while, Billy and Elucid thematically with their verses across this project were like really on the same page more than ever. Not that they've ever been working as like completely separate entities, but it seems like there was more of a focused effort than before to...
Pre-Diabetic Test Strips, this is definitely their tightest album in my opinion thematically.
Like really make sure that they're hitting upon the same themes and vibes on a lot of these cuts, which could have been a priority considering how great some of the switch ups between these tracks can be emotionally and subject wise too. So while I can't say this is my favorite Armand Hammer project, I did love it. I did come away from this project enjoying it quite a bit. There were tracks around the midpoint I wasn't crazy about. It does not have the strongest ending of an Armand Hammer project either, in my opinion, even if Billy Wood's final verse on the entire record is like soul-crushing. I also have to note, I feel this album qualifies as one of my favorite kinds of collaborations when I do hear two artists.
Oh yeah, he can oh, that's a real dirty, that was a dirty pause on Fantano. Yeah, he definitely is like getting granular with it.
crossing over
Yeah, yeah, I respect it too. I respect it too.
in such a big way. And that is, you have these two separate entities coming together to create something that they could not have done separately. This is not a sound, this is not a vibe I believe that Armand Hammer would have gone for or achieved without the Alchemist teaming up with them, and vice versa. I don't think this is the kind of record you would typically expect the Alchemist to have his hand in, if not for the fact that Armand Hammer was there kind of providing that opportunity, and obviously their artistic talents make the prospect of doing that a tempting one for any producer that actually kind of cares about his craft and cares about hip-hop as a whole, not just the mainstream stuff, but what's bubbling up in the underground too. Feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this LP, Tran?
I thought he was gonna give it a 7 and I was about to have a panic attack. 8 is like the minimum grade you need to give this album, I feel.
Musician, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you...
Not bad, not bad. I will say that, yeah. I will say that the More Mother Billy Woods album definitely has a little bit of a better theme, like, or not even a better theme. Like, I feel like it dives into that psychedelic theme a little bit more than Haram, but it's probably like not as accessible overall. But yeah, that was damn, dude's got 3 million subs. That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, that was dope. That was very dope. Especially like in retrospect, all these years later.